The marriage made it happen. The year was 1948. Baseball and WGN television became partners immediately. Hello again, everybody. This is Harry Caray with Steve Stone in Mesa, Arizona. And before we examine the '83 Cubs, let's flash back to a handful of memories as Channel 9 observes its 35th anniversary.
I'm Walter Trout. Here is Chuck Huntley. Good evening, Europe. We had intended to take you at this time to Washington, where the President's weekly news conference is about to begin. But because of early acquisition at Andover, we got the Telstar circuit early, and the President has not yet started. So suppose we take you to a baseball game in Chicago instead.
I didn't know no names of nobody. And it didn't ever know when I was pitching to Hack Wilson, Babe Herman, and those kids back a little bit. I didn't know one from the other. And they say, you know who that you struck out? I say, who? He said, that's Hack Wilson. So he just now hit so-and-so home runs. I said, well, I didn't know him.
President Kennedy, Vince Lloyd and WGN Television in Chicago, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President. I know that we're very happy to have the opportunity to bring you back to Chicago, and your many stalwart people that are back there, and happy to see you here at the ball game.
I saw the World Series out there 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Yes, that's right, when we had the unfortunate experience of losing to
Los Angeles.
Yes. He's facing King Robert, and he hits a long fly. Hooray! 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 Hey, hey! Hey, hey!
Now, if you're a lucky player and a super player, you're on the club, and that's the story. What makes you lucky? Teamwork. Till you have good luck in your life. Want to have bad luck, just don't have teamwork. You're going to have bad luck the rest of your life.
There's a drive on the line to left field. Come on, Moose! He did it! Moreland made a fabulous catch. It's a no-hitter.
Hey, hey, holy mackerel, no doubt about it. The Cubs are on their way. Hey, hey, hey!
Well hit, deep to right, back, hey! It's all over! Willie Smith just homered! The Cubs win the game!
We had a good year. We didn't win it, and the Mets won it. They beat everybody.
As a baseball pitcher with the Cubs, with the White Sox, with the Giants, with Baltimore, a Cy Young Award winner with a sensational season a few years back. Now we want to welcome to his new career Steve Stone, color commentator, baseball announcer for the Chicago Cubs and WGN. I know you're going to do a terrific job.
Well, thank you, Harry. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to be associated with the Cubs when I can't give up any home runs. It's nice to see these pitchers. They're looking in shape this year, and I'm looking forward to a nice 1983 season. I
am so happy that you're going to be in a booth with me, Steve, instead of pitching on the mound. I can still see some of those gigantic home runs going over the back wall at Wrigley Field.
Well, I did give up a lot of them, and of course, I think the '83 Cubs are going to be much better than the teams that I played for in 4, 5, and 6.
And now let's take a look at the '83 Cubs.
I think the biggest plus of our ball club this year, as opposed to last year, is we came to camp with a pretty good idea of where our players would be playing. Our infield is set, so that's an avenue that we don't have to look at too deeply. The outfield situation is a different nature this year because we have so many talented ball players out there that we have the flexibility to rotate them into different positions depending on injuries and what situations might develop. So, and our catching is solid. So again, like we talked about earlier, it depends on the continued development of our pitching staff.
And that's, of course, the question now that everybody asks, the Steve Trout trade. Most people think that the White Sox got the best of it because they got more players involved. How do you feel about it?
Well, it was a situation where numbers weren't important to us at this time. Last year, we were badly in need of a left-handed starting pitching, and we had talked about Steve Trout before he even became available to us. Steve has had an outstanding spring. His strength of arm is excellent, and we're very happy to have him on our ball club because of the void we had in left-handed starting pitching of last year. As far as the people that were involved in the trade, our organization from day one has always felt that if we develop ball players throughout our system, our main goal is, number one, to have them play for the Chicago Cubs. If they can't play for Chicago, we'd like to put them in a major league situation elsewhere. That is one of the reasons why Tabler and Fletcher became expendable, because of the acquisition of Say and the continued development of our backup infielders.
Hey, you look awfully good in that Cub uniform.
Oh, I feel good in it. You know, it fits real nice, Harry. It does, and I'm happy to be in the Cub uniform. I really am. It worked out great for me, and I didn't realize what I'd be receiving from the Cubs, and what I have received has just been great.
They're tickled to death to have you. I think that, as I have said on a number of occasions, I'm taking nothing away from anybody else involved in this deal, but I think all the other players put together don't equal the potential of one Steve Trout. Now it's up to you to realize it.
Well, the potential thing has been talked about quite a bit, and there's been a few things that have been missing from me, and I think I found them. And you know, of course, with Brusstar, he's been around too. I mean, I think they got a couple of good pitchers in myself and Warren, and I'm working some things out with the pitching coach, and I tell you what, I've never felt better in my whole career.
Do you worry at all about the difference in the league, the different type of hitters? I guess that's the first thing you asked about when you got to spring training.
Well, hell, you know, looking at the National League, what they do, the American League and the All-Star game is a little bit frightening. No, but I'm not in any way giving any thought to being a little frightened or anything of the National League. I think there's better hitters, but I'm a better pitcher now.
Now, what did you do with Steve Trout?
Well, basically, you know, I called Steve over the winter when we traded for him. I told him how excited I was. I had seen him pitch as a kid and knew what he had, the ability that he has. And we just said, we got some work to do, and I'm going to be, if you want to come down to Florida, be glad to work with you. And I said, I'll be out in Arizona early. I came out here early, and he was here, and we just basically talked about a lot of things, even the philosophies of life, just to base, because I know what the ability he has.
Yeah. Did Dallas Green, for example, when he acquired Steve Trout, give you a suggestion as to what he wanted you to do in relation to Trout?
Well, all Dallas did was say, he says that Steve is a big part of what we're doing.
Dallas, the general impression is that it was the threat of losing Jenkins that caused you to make the trade with the White Sox. It's a fair question to get your viewpoint on it. If you have the same thing to do over again and there was no threat of losing Jenkins, would you still make that kind of trade?
Oh, certainly, Harry. Jeepers, that kind of trade to me is what trading's all about. Sure, it's going to help the White Sox, or it should help the White Sox, but it's going to help the Chicago Cubs, and that's what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about doing things that are going to help the Chicago Cubs. Steve Trout's going to be an outstanding young pitcher. Warren Brusstar can do what the other guy did for us, and maybe more so, and at a younger age. So we don't think we sacrificed that much. I know the timing didn't look good in terms of what happened with Fergie, but that goes back to the age question. Here I am giving up a 40-year-old guy maybe, and everybody's screaming that I shouldn't do that. Now you can't have age and keep it too. So I guess what I'm saying basically, I was willing to gamble for that. As a result of what happened to Fergie, we came through with some conversations with the White Sox, and that produced the Trout trade. I'm tickled to death. He pitched very, very well for us down here so far, and he's going to be a big guy in our pitching staff.
Warren, it seems like with Mike Perley and yourself in the early relief and the great bullpen you have going for you for late relief, that this might be one of the strengths of this ball club.
I definitely think so. That's what it was in Philadelphia, that you hope the starters can get a good 6 or 7 and then come to the bullpen and they'll pick everything up and go from there.
Yeah. With the arm trouble you've had, does it make any difference now as a result as to how many days in a row you can pitch?
No, last year I pitched 6 days in a row, or I was up in the bullpen 6 days in a row. I can throw every day. That's one thing, very fortunate, that I have been able to do. I've still been able to throw every day. Maybe my mechanics aren't with me every day, but if I concentrate and get everything and get my arm strength back, then I should be able to throw consistently every day and throw better than I have in the past.
You have added 2 big bats, one at third base, one in the outfield, or on the bench as you choose to use them. I'm thinking of Wayne Nordhagen as the outfielder and Ron Say at third base. So there's 2 fellows both capable of hitting multiple home runs.
Well, you've got to be very happy to have the all-time home run hitter in Los Angeles Dodger history to be a member of your ball club, and he truly fits the void that we needed, the right-handed bat and the position player at third base. We've made some other acquisitions in the Wayne Nordhagens and some other men that we feel can strengthen us as spot starters, possibly starters, and give us the bench depth that we so desperately lacked last year in very close ball games.
With the new contract you've just signed, you've become the highest paid athlete in Chicago. Do you feel that it's going to add any additional pressure to you coming into this season?
Well, first of all, I don't know if that's true, but secondly, I don't think it adds any pressure at all. I'm out there to do my job. I'll do it as well as I can, and I don't think if I continue to go out there and play the game as hard as I can and try to give you my best efforts, that anybody's going to be complaining about that. Sometimes your results can't be based on what you make, and I'm certainly going to give you every effort that I can to prove that I am the player that I'm supposed to be and continue to be.
Last year with the Dodgers, I know there was some problems you had emotionally on the ball club because you didn't feel that there was a wanted situation as far as they were concerned. Have the Cubs shown you that, yes, indeed, you are wanted over here?
Well, there's no question about that. They certainly were changing directions over in Los Angeles, and it was really a blessing that I had a chance to go to a new situation. It's given me essentially new blood and a new excitement and a new challenge, and the Cubs have expressed a great desire to have me. Once again, one of the reasons why it worked out was because I believed that this club was definitely on the upswing. They're trying to make the players aware that they care. They're doing a number of things that I believe is on a positive side, and I'm certainly going to try to carry through with my part.
Do you think hitters, because of all the reputation Wrigley Field has as a hitter's ballpark, do you think it becomes a complex that they all try to hit home runs rather than just hit the ball?
Well, I don't know. I haven't, seen that many games there, but I don't think, just judging from myself and, probably all the other Major League ball players that go into Wrigley Field is, I think you learn not to do that. I think, of course, experience dictates that a little bit, but a lot of guys, if you hit the ball, it's going to go. So, why try to hit it so hard? Usually you're much better just, going at it with natural ability and letting things happen.
I'm just wild about Harry, and Harry's wild about me. The heavenly blisses of his kisses fill me with ecstasy. He's sweet like chocolate candy, and just like honey from the bee. I'm just wild about Harry, and he's just wild about, cannot do without. He's just wild about me.
Well, you've got a new third baseman over there. How is that going to affect your fielding?
Well, knowing Ronnie people say that he's lost a step here and there. He might have lost a step, but I think knowledge-wise he knows how to play the hitters in the National League. The big concern that bothers me more than anything is it's not a concern. It's a positive concern anyway. Is Ryne Sandberg at second base, knowing that he's going to be out there 160 ball games. It's going to make my job a lot easier. Last year we had 3 different second basemen throughout the course of the season, and on any given day I didn't know who was playing second base. This year, knowing he's going to be out there, I can play a little more relaxed and a little more comfortable out there.
You would describe third base as more or less of a do-or-die position. The ball's hit so hard, whereas shortstop and second base, you really have to play the ball more.
That's exactly right. You have a lot more time for the ball to get to you, and to make the play easier, you just want to take the best hop that you can. You can't, at second base, the habit you can get into is falling back on the ball and letting it play you. You want to take charge right away, but then again, you want to get the good hop because you have a lot of time, and it's a short throw to first base.
You only got 7 minutes, baby. Watch this. This is a broken bat, right?
Bill, I would imagine that the more good hitters you have in a lineup, the better it makes every hitter in that lineup.
When I'm getting on base, it's going to make Durham a better hitter, and say the guys behind me. And when the guys are hitting in front of me, it makes me feel a little better, gives me a little bit more confidence. And we're just hoping that everybody can get off to a decent start and be more consistent. I know Sandberg last year had a slow start, and we're hoping that he'll get off to a good start.
What's the status on the circulatory problem in your fingers?
Well, Harry, it seems to be getting a little better. It's just mostly a problem with my hand getting cold all the time, and hopefully I'll be ready to play by opening day.
I came up to Baltimore's organization, and they were winning organization. I came up, then I traded to Cincinnati, and it was in their organization and in the minor leagues and the big leagues, and they had the same type of winning atmosphere. Then I come over here, and they've changed their direction. Everything they do is positive. They want to put a winner on the field, and Dallas Green won't stop until he puts a winner on the field.
Times are a little bit different than when you were St. Louis, when you were just coming up trying to establish yourself. You are established now. So what do you try to do in spring training to get yourself ready for this season?
Well, just come out here every day and continue to work hard, and you know, the basic fundamentals of the game, and just so that I can keep myself tuned, and you know, like I said, come out here working hard and get to know my ball players, get to know what they're capable of doing, if they worked on something over the winter to improve themselves at their position. And myself, I just like to, you know, come out here and do the things that I feel that I'm capable of doing.
I saw your batting stance. It's a very unusual stance. It's called a radically open stance. Is it very difficult for you to cover the outside part of the plate?
No, because actually that's where I want him to pitch me. I want him to pitch me away, because that's where, you know, I hit the ball. You know, I think I have more power away than I do pulling the ball. Because every time I've hit, you know, it's my longest home run drive I've ever hit. I've hit away the opposite field in the center field. But, you know, if they want to come inside, well...
I think that right now the best thing that could happen for Scott Thompson would be maybe a platoon situation with a right-handed hitter, like Wayne Nordhagen or Keith Moreland or someone in that line. If that happens, I'd be very happy, because I'm probably going to get over 400 at-bats since they're predominantly a right-handed pitching league.
Last year, Keith, you started out very well, and you were carrying the ball club early in the season, and then you seemed to come across a little bit of a slump. What exactly happened in 1982?
Well, I think anytime you get in a situation where you start struggling a little bit, you start pressing to do well, and we weren't doing well as a team early in the year, but I was doing pretty well. And then we started playing good as a team, and I couldn't get myself back going again until September. I felt like I had a good September. I started swinging the bat again, and I just hope it carries over to this year.
There looks to be a little bit of traffic in left field here with the Cubs this year. How do you see your role with the team?
Well, probably we're going to be doing the same thing that I was doing last year, you know, play a little defense, playing against left-hander once in a while, and pinch hit. I did a lot of pinch hit last year. I did a pretty good job, so I believe that's what I'm going to do. And in case they, they wanted to play me every day, whatever, it's up to them, so I'm going to be ready.
Well, what do you do to get ready?
What do I do?
Yeah.
Put on my Dog Patrol hat, wear goggles, run around, do funny things, light firecrackers.
I don't know if you'll ever be ready to play baseball, but you're sure ready for the broadcasting booth, I think.
Well, I have a lot of fun out here, and I enjoy meeting people and talking to people, and but I have to give you credit, Harry. It's not as easy to do what you do as it looks, because I've already tried it a couple times.
It's pretty easy for a catcher to swing the bat the first part of the season, but what happens to a catcher the second half of the season after catching that many ball games?
Well, you don't realize, when the weather gets hot and you got all your equipment on, and it just physically drains you of all your strength. And I feel like you got to play defense first, and then whatever you can hit's just a little extra plus for you. But I feel like just the heat and catching a lot of ball games, it just takes a little out of your back.
Fergie, you make it look so easy. Why can't you take some of these young guys on the side and teach them how you do it so easily?
Well, it's nice to say it's easy to do, but the executing play is a tough thing. I think that they're trying to do as much as I am. There's the added point that I'll point out maybe to one of the younger pitchers. This is try it as an experimental thing. If it works, fine. They have to, on their own viewpoints of their own ability, try to do what they can to get hitters out. And you can mention a few things, but if they can't execute it, then they're going to have to do it on their own.
I started throwing that three-finger changeup last year towards the end of the season, and I still been throwing it for strikes, so I'm going to throw it a lot. It's about the only off-speed pitch I got, because my slider's hard and the curveball is about the same speed, so I needed to come up with something off-speed. And I threw that changeup pretty effectively towards the last month.
Rich, you were 12-9 in Salt Lake City last year, and you came over from the Seattle organization that has a wealth of fine young arms. How do you view your position this year with the Cubs?
Well, I was really excited about the trade. I was glad to move on from Seattle due to the fact they really didn't give me a shot. And I'm hoping for, a good shot this year. If they give me a shot, I'll make this ball club.
Sometimes a pitching coach can overcoach a little bit. Will you describe what Billy Connors has said to you in your tenure with the Cubs?
Well, Billy and I don't think we've ever talked pitching since the day I came up, but I've thrown well since I've been here, and that's a sign of a good pitching coach. When you're throwing good, leave you alone, take notice of what you're doing, and when you do hit a slump, he knows what you did when you were throwing well, and hopefully you can turn it around.
I think we had a good situation out there last year with guys that he could flip-flop out there and do the job in short relief or long relief, and I think naturally Lee, I think they're going to go with Lee in the short innings or short part of the game there if they can, but I'll also be available. No sense in throwing him 3-4 days in a row. You don't have to. You got somebody else out there who can do the job too. So I think I'll be down there towards the end of the game most of the time.
I hope I have a kind of year that I have it last year, and also we got a great ball club that we have it last year. We have a better hitter, we got a better pitcher right here now, and I hope the bullpen stay together like we do last year.
Lee, I know that Steve Trout hasn't done much batting as a pitcher. He's been in the other league where they have the designated hitter. Even in high school, he told me they used a designated hitter for him. Now, you being a hard-hitting pitcher, a guy who hits home runs, I look for you to get him under your toe and teach him how to hit.
Well, one thing, we have the batting cage down the bullpen. Now, I wouldn't put myself in that category as a hard-hitting pitcher. I got my one hit, but the one thing I think Steve is going to have to concentrate on bunting more so than hitting the ball. If he's a good bunter, that's going to help him out more so than being a good hitter. But it happens, when you might need a sacrifice fly other than a bunt or a base hit at the time. But I think Steve got the talent to be a hitter.
Where did you hit that home run, by the way?
It was in Atlanta.
Yeah, line drive.
Yeah, I was surprised me a lot, too.